Hello and welcome to the D3 Energy Livestream. I'm Greg Davis, founder of D3 Energy, and thanks for joining me again today. So I want to continue on the discussion about technology and the oil field and some of the great innovations that have happened, which have led to America's hydrocarbon dominance. And there's a concept that many people in business and academia, and it's in the mainstream, called disruptive technology. And it was coined by a professor from Harvard, Clayton Christensen, who talked about disruptive technologies that came along through history and innovated the way business is done, industries operated, how money was made, how different processes were developed, disruptive technologies that disrupt the conventional thinking or the traditional way of doing business. There has been incredible disruptive technologies and techniques developed over the years in our oil and gas industry. It's been happening since the beginning of our industry 150 years ago, moving from essentially men with their bare hands, hammering into the earth, trying to dig out the earth to get down to the oil. And it was a long and arduous process and dangerous. And then that was replaced by rotary drilling and cable tool drilling, which increased the time, or decreased the amount of time it took to drill a well and reduce the costs, and was more effective and allowed us to tap into reservoirs that were deeper and larger. And so today our oil and gas industry is really benefiting from disruptive technologies, and many of these technologies have been applied to, as we have been talking about, unconventional reservoirs, shale reservoirs, tight oil and gas reservoirs, where there's been huge innovation in drilling and completion, horizontal drilling, hydraulic fracturing, new types of drill bits, new types of fluids. And much of this has been applied to unconventional reservoirs. And the great prize is taking these technologies, these disruptive technologies and techniques, and applying them to the conventional reservoirs, the conventional trends, which is just now starting. It hasn't happened in full swing yet, but there is a tremendous opportunity. And these disruptive technologies have, over the past 15 years, increased well productivity, decreased costs, and increased efficiency, reducing downtime in the oil field. And it's been a game changer. So a few of the things that I have learned about, that this information is out there on the internet, and I learn through talking to other people in the industry of how different techniques that have been developed over the years, technologies, disruptive technologies, are now being applied to conventional reservoirs. I've talked about horizontal drilling. That was a huge disruptor. With horizontal drilling technology and then hydraulic fracturing, companies were able to go into these shale rocks, these shale formations and tight rocks, and drill horizontally and frack and get incredible volumes of oil and gas that suddenly made them profitable. Well, horizontal drilling is just now being applied to conventional reservoirs. Many of these conventional reservoirs were considered just tapped out and didn't have the resources remaining. And that is starting to happen. One of the places that is happening is up in the San Andreas Formation in West Texas, in the Permian. There's an area there called the Central Platform where billions of barrels of oil have been produced out of these conventional reservoirs. And most of these reservoirs now have been depleted, and people thought, hey, they're out of oil and gas. And then somebody came along and figured out, if I drill horizontally through that formation into the leg where there was some oil remaining in the bottom of the reservoir essentially had been water flooded over the years, and people thought most of the oil and gas had been drawn out of this reservoir. They decided to take a shot and drill horizontally into the bottom of this reservoir, into what's called the residual oil zone, the oil that's remaining, the residual oil. And voila, all of a sudden now it's become one of the hottest plays. Companies are out in this Central Platform acquiring acreage and drilling horizontal wells and making very good wells. Another thing that's happening is was horizontal drilling that was applied to offshore fields, directional offshore wells that were drilled into these old formations, similar to the San Andreas, where a company went in there and drilled horizontally and basically tried to intercept where the oil and gas contact was, and they started making thousands and thousands of barrels a day. That same technique now is being applied to an onshore conventional trend, which I've learned about, into these thin oil sands, conventional oil sands, and the company is making great oil wells, producing a lot of oil and gas today. So that's some of the examples of horizontal drilling applied into conventional reservoirs, but it took some disruptive thinking. Somebody looked at that reservoir and said, I wonder if I apply this technology over here to that formation and I can make a successful well. Well, they are. Some of the other things that are being developed today, which some of the think tanks out there like McKinsey and other groups say is some of the great innovations, the disruptive innovations that are coming our way, is the smart oil field, where little sensors can be placed all around the oil field, around the equipment, the pipes, the production equipment. And those sensors will send back information to a central location where people can watch and see, is the pump working? Is the gas flowing? Is there some kind of disruption? And can quickly then get out to that oil field and replace a part or fix a problem before it gets started. The other thing that is being developed, so those are smart sensors. The other thing is drones now are being applied to monitoring and sensing pipelines and equipment in the field and oil fields. Drones that routinely fly over and monitor situations and send back information to an operator who can make quick decisions. And then the other thing that is happening is data processing. There's great new developments, disruptive technological developments in data processing that is allowing vast amounts of information to come in to a central location or to a geologist or a geophysicist's computer, who can process information and look at data, look at well logs, look at field reports from 50, 40, 30 years ago, when the wells were drilled with old technology, if you will, but the great technology at that time, and interpret it and then apply it, compare it to a new well that was drilled in the area, and suddenly be able to map a whole new trend, a whole new formation. So data processing is one of the great disruptors that is happening today. And there are many, many others. And the great opportunity for our industry, especially for new companies, smaller companies, companies with limited resources that don't want to go borrow a whole bunch of money or go take a huge influx of capital from an institution, where they want to do grassroots. The opportunity to take an existing technology and use it and apply it in a way that's never been applied to a formation, or take it to an area where that technology is applied, where it worked somewhere else before but nobody thought about using it in this formation, and make economic wells for low cost is one of the great opportunities right now. And one of my goals here is to talk about that, talk about these happenings, these events for this live stream for D3 Energy. And I'll be talking about a new initiative that I have started that is going to be a much more formal place, where much more formal organization, if you will, where people will come together who still really believe in conventional oil and gas and can share information, can learn, can encourage more investment, encourage younger audiences to come. The opportunity is big. Now, I'll close with this. Our industry is one of the most resilient, vibrant, innovative industries that I know of. And I know there's many others, and it's not to put down anybody else's industry. I'm sure you're working in a fine industry, high-tech, aerospace, whatever it is. But the oil and gas industry has been incredibly nimble and innovative over its history. And usually it's these innovations, these new technologies, these new techniques, these disruptive techniques, they come about when there is distress. And the biggest distress that our industry has faced, at least the past several years, was low oil prices. When oil prices were high and everybody's making money, it's during those times when people are not thinking about, how do I save money? Or how do I try something new that will get me more oil out or help me to drill my wells quicker? There's so much money being made because the margins are so great. $115 oil. Everybody is drilling the hell out of everything that they can drill. Okay? So R&D kind of goes by the wayside. But it's usually at times when there is a disruptive event or something that seems catastrophic. Oil goes from $115 down to $30, $40. That's when our industry, the great minds in our industry go to work. And they do it out of necessity for survival, to try to protect their companies, to protect their jobs, to find ways to be more efficient, to reduce costs, and to be more efficient. And now is when these disruptive technologies are really taking root, because our industry has been hammered over the past couple of years. Oil prices have stabilized, yes, at $55 just a couple days ago, but oil got to 30. So oil prices have come up. But our industry is so innovative in times like this, where oil prices are low, distress is high, and everybody's got to go to work, sharpen their pencils, and figure out, how do I do things cheaper, better, smarter? And that's what's happening right now. So there's many disruptive technologies on the horizon, some that are being applied right now, but you don't read about it, you don't hear about it. You got to look for it. You got to have your ear to the ground. That's what I do. That's what my team does. That's what many of the people who I know in the conventional oil and gas space do, because we're looking, because we know the prize is so big. There's so much oil and gas remaining. And it's going to be with these disruptive technologies, these techniques that, you know, with a fresh set of eyes, someone says, let's try this technique on that formation, and let's see if we can get more oil and gas out. That's the great opportunity. And that's one of my goals here, is, among many, is to make you aware of what's happening and to promote more drilling, more development of conventional trends, to get a lot of these people, these great professionals, back to work, to inspire the younger generation to come into this great industry. We need that. We need that right now. And so that's a little discussion on disruptive technologies in oil and gas. Thank you for taking time to be with me today. I'll be back. And lastly, I'll say congratulations to the Astros. You see, I got my hat here. Yes, I'm here in Houston, and we're very, very proud of our team, of our city, and it was an incredible run. And for all of our friends out there in Los Angeles and New York and Boston, I know you may be disappointed, but I can tell you, if there's any consolation, this town really needed it, and it's just been a great shot in our arm, especially since the hurricane and many other factors. So God bless. Share and spread this, please. Let's build the audience. Let's keep this paradigm shift going, and I'll be back. Take care.